Build your better breakfast at Subway with the tasty 250 combo, a 16-ounce cup of freshly brewed Seattle's best coffee, and any delicious egg muffin melt. And don't hit the snooze on this deal. Right now, come in before 11 a.m. for a $5 foot-long breakfast sub. Subway, eat fresh. The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
This is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
it might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't
The
care.
BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report. Sunny day here in Southern California, and a sunny day for our guest, who's not on the Subway Fresh Tech Hotline because he's in studio. He's the author of the upcoming book, In 50 Years, We'll All Be Chicks.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know you could write.
I can't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Adam Carolla.
Yeah. Good to be back, Bill.
Your book comes out on Tuesday,
Yep. This Tuesday.
and you're touring at least part of America.
Mm-hmm.
Give me some of the cities.
We'll be in Philly. We'll be in Boston at the House of Blues. We'll be at Caroline's in New York City, and that'll all be coming up probably, in the next 5-6 days or so. I think maybe it'd probably be like the 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere in there. You can go to adamcarolla.com if you want to find out.
All right. And you can get the book signed.
Yeah, I will sign the book. We're doing some book signings around those areas. You can, again, go to adamcarolla.com, find out where we're going to be, and I'll sign them. And if you buy the book and send me in the jacket, I'll sign it, too. Or the dust cover. Yeah, why not?
Really?
Well, I'll tell you, I made a mistake. I said, my editor said, hey, could you sign some of these book plates?
Yeah.
And I said, what's a book plate? And she said, it's a thing you give so, people, you don't have to give you the book to sign. You sign these book plates.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, all right.
Yeah, that sounds easy.
So she said, all right, how about this? For the first 2,500 that are pre-sold, you'll sign a book plate for them. And I said, all right, I'll do that. And then I announced it, and then they sold the 2,500. And then she said, well, how about if we announce another 2,500 and you'll sign the book plate for them if they buy it at Amazon.com or wherever?
Yeah.
And I said, pre-sales. I said, yeah, all right, we'll sell books. And then they sold those. And then about 3 days ago, 2 huge boxes of book plates, which are, imagine this, imagine a box the size of just like a large shipping UPS box with something the size of postcards in it, but there's 2,800 in each box. And there's a massive pile of these things. And I write my name. I can sign my name about once every 40 seconds. I think I've worked it out. I'm going to get carpal tunnel syndrome from doing this. I signed a stack of what felt like I watched an entire TMZ and never stopped my hand moving and got through about 2 inches of these things. And I got about 5 feet of book plates to get through.
Well, that's why you hired the guy who's forging your signature.
I need one of those machines Barack Obama has. Because, they're not signing all that crap.
Does he really have one of those?
There are things, if you're the president or you're some dignitary or probably LeBron James or something, there's probably a sort of you can kind of tell those letters that have the guy's signature, but it's not him signing
not really.
it. It's a nice rendition of his signature.
Bill Russell never signed anything in like the 50s and 60s.
Really?
And Tommy Heinsohn, whenever they had to sign a team ball or whatever, Tommy Heinsohn would sign his name like he'd figured out how to do it.
Uh-huh.
And he announced this like 25 years later. So everybody who had anything for the Russell era in the 1960s, like, what?
I have a version of this with Jimmy Kimmel, which always used to drive him insane. We would sit in our office together when we were doing the Man Show, and someone would send in a poster or jacket from season 1 or something, or just autograph, like me and Jimmy, headshot for some executive or some crap like that. And Jimmy, who's a very learned man and a good student and all that kind of stuff, we would always write something a little bit clever. Like, I'd always just write good times and then write my name, or thank you and write my name. But Jimmy would write something that was sort of clever and funny, and he would sign it on the chest of his picture.
Yeah.
My likeness when we were together was to the left of his and a little bit higher. And I would always write exactly what he wrote, except for mine would be to the left and above, so it would look like he wrote what I wrote, and it drove him insane because you read left to right. Yeah. So if you sign it to the left, whatever it is he wrote, and this is how I learned to spell, I would write verbatim exactly what he wrote, and then I'd give it back, and it was one of those things where he was pissed, but he knew it was funny, and he'd do it to me too if he had a chance, so he couldn't really complain too much.
Those were the days.
Oh, yeah. Those were the days. Yeah.
You guys don't talk anymore. It's too bad.
Who?
You and Kimmel. You're falling out.
He's dead to me.
You went to Mexico.
We went to Mexico. Yeah. Can I?
And that was the falling out. No, there's no falling out.
Can I tell you?
Yeah, sure.
I got to tell you a couple of things.
Are these Mexico stories?
This is Mexico. This is San Diego, and then this is Addison, just outside of Dallas. Took a tour of Texas Stadium. Did my touchdown dance in the end zone of Texas Stadium. Yeah. I got to tell you that Jimmy, first off, I went and did some vintage car race in Coronado. It's out near San Diego. They have the Hotel del Coronado. Historic place. All Clark Gable used to stay there back, have sex with Betty White back in the day.
Oh, no.
She's the only one still alive. And it's a 5-star resort.
Yeah.
And they completely buffed us out, and they gave us the executive suites with the connecting rooms and the thing for the kids and the verandas over the beach and the Emperor's Club and the whole 9 yards. And that's what I did one weekend. And then the following weekend, I went to that Los Ventanos place with Kimmel
in Mexico.
And this place is like, you want to talk about a super jumbo condo on the beach with literally had a movie theater that sat 30 people and an infinity pool and the white sands and the blue thing and your own staff. You wake up at 4 a.m. and tell Pedro you want a Denver omelet and he brings it to you. Incredible. So I go from one of the nicest 5-star resorts in the United States to the nicest 5-star resort in Mexico, and 2 days later, I'm at a Red Roof Inn in Addison outside of Dallas doing like the Addison Chuckle Hut with Mike August and my buddy Donnie. It was by the way, staying at a crappy hotel is bad, but it is that much worse when you leave the white sands and the azure seas. And I had to leave a day early to get to this place. So I left the finest resort in Mexico to go to the crappiest hotel in Addison, Texas.
So you basically lived Andrew Dice Clay's last 20 years in the span of 3 days.
Yeah, that's
sped it up. It was sped up Dice.
That was, you know what?
That's what he's thinking.
Bill?
He's like, I remember the days when I could stay at Las Ventanas.
It was a weird thing because, speaking of crap holes, we just got back from playing a club in Atlanta, and Andrew Dice Clay was playing there like a few months before we were.
Hickory
Dock. His first thing was, whoa, I'm going to smoke this cigarette by wrapping my hand around my head and then pulling it around the wrong side.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You got to see. And by the way, we talk about every movie ad nauseum. Please watch The Adventures of Ford Fairlane one of these days.
Really
that is an awesome bad 80s movie. But he played this club that held about 270 people, and I said, the club owner, how was the turnout? And it was like, that 100 people there. And, only thing worse than going from, Hotel del Coronado to the Red Roof Inn in Addison is going from Madison Square Garden to the Punchline outside. He insisted evidently on charging $100 a ticket, so it sort of thinned the herd a little bit.
I would say so.
But still, 100 people with a balding Andrew Dice Clay doing the old act.
Yeah. Where does he rank in the top 5? I can't believe that guy was a hugely successful comedian rankings. He's ahead of Jeff Foxworthy, right?
Yeah, well, Jeff Foxworthy is just, he came up with the I can't believe it's not butter, or you might be a redneck, or whatever the hell it was.
But you might be a redneck thing should have lasted 6 months.
Yeah.
It should have been over pretty quickly. He got like an ABC show out of it. Things happened for him.
Well, in the pantheon of super rich people that aren't funny and aren't creative, the folks that are always forgotten about are the guys who are the animators from our childhood. As I was sitting around with my kids, now you get kids and you start watching these cartoons, and on comes the Hair Bear Bunch, and on comes Jabba-Jaw, and on comes Speed Buggy, and on comes the Grape Ape, and you go, wow, these Hanna-Barbera hacks, these guys were horrible. This stuff was horrible. And not only was, Jabba-Jaw horrible, but Jabba-Jaw was just Curly from the Three Stooges. Why don't we get no respect? And it was like, wow, the animation's horrible, the writing's horrible. But hey, here's my idea: Grape Ape. What is it? Purple Ape. Just keep saying Grape Ape. Please back the Brinks truck up to our office and drop off another load. Like, we talk about comedians. Think about how much money Sid and Marty Krofft made off of, Far Out Space Nuts and Sigmund and the Sea Monsters and all that, Land of the Lost and just some of the junkiest crap ever to be broadcast.
That's why Hong Kong Phooey seems so revolutionary in 1972.
Scatman.
It was 40 years ahead of its time because Hanna-Barbera was so bad.
Pretty diverse career for Scatman doing Hong Kong Phooey and The Shining.
And now he's Tony Dungy.
Oh, right.
Yeah. That was his last act. Where do you stand on watching R-rated programming with your kids? Because I may or may not have watched the entire The Shining with my daughter.
Really?
She just covered her eyes for the Scatman Crothers in the bathtub scenes. Because nothing really happens. It's one of those movies that it seems like it's scary.
Yeah.
But there's no actual violence or anything. There's really not any swearing.
It's sort of theater of the mind. It's really and if you
it's not any scarier than like some of the Scooby-Doo episodes I've seen or watched. Like they have that new. You've seen the new version of Scooby-Doo?
Yeah, it's scary.
They had this one of like these little kids that turned into like Chucky from Child's Play. And it was scarier than The Shining. I'm not even kidding.
And not only scary. I mean, a lot of these cartoons are scary, but they're a little provocative, too. Like when you see the Wonder Twins and you see the outfits the chicks are wearing, and there's a couple of ones. There's like the Fantastic Four or whatever. I don't know who the hot chick is, Elektra or Viking Woman or whatever. Checking that outfit out. I'm a little ashamed to say this, but I didn't think a pencil and a paper could get me as excited as it was. But you look at that and you're like, wow.
Well, Daphne's the same way.
Yeah, Daphne's hot.
Really like Daphne.
Yeah,
good stuff.
She's smoking. And the other chicks that are hot, too, is about every third episode when Shaggy falls in love. It's always funny. When Shaggy falls in love, Scooby has to fall in love with a dog, too. Like somehow.
They try to balance it out.
Imagine if you were just single and had a dog, and you're like, well, I can't date unless my dog starts dating. That'd be a weird rule. But he falls in love with a hot flower child's, hippie chick.
Yeah.
She's hot, too.
There's a great... I don't know if you guys do the iTunes with your kids.
Yeah.
But they have the Scooby and Scrappy.
Scrappy-Doo.
Scrappy-Doo I wasn't normally a fan of, but there was this one series where it was Scooby, Scrappy, Shaggy, and Daphne. They got rid of Fred and Velma.
Yeah.
We're always the weak links.
That was a contractual problem.
They held out for a couple of years.
Sure.
It was the best. It was the best Scooby-Doo. That's what we watched.
Yeah, the Scrappy-Doo is a direct rip-off of Godzuki.
Yep.
And anyone who knows me, please just have some fun with your Google image with Chris Carter and Godzuki.
Oh,
that is,
it's one of your all-time favorite comparisons.
That is it. And if you want to, as long as we're talking football, you can go James Von Prague and Larry Zonka.
You'll get that's a good one too.
It's like if Larry Zonka had decided to stay, veer away from the gridiron and move a little more toward the bars and the smart cocktails. That James Von Prague looks. By the way, I've spoke to James Von Prague. Has no idea who Larry Zonka is, which always freaks me out because how do you not know the guy you look like? And then he must run in a circle where there's not a bunch of people telling him, "Hey, you look like Larry Zonka."
Von is my favorite middle name.
Von.
The guy always sounds cool with the Von. Yeah. You know what's funny about you, though? If you decide that something looks like somebody else, you have to tell whoever's in the room, no matter what the comparison is or how offensive it might be.
Yeah.
Two great examples. Number one, our friend Sal, his son Archie.
I defend this, but go ahead.
You claim that his son looked like when he was a little kid, he looked like a young Clint Howard.
Well, first I said
you made people Google it.
First, I said Joe Klecko.
Well,
I started off as a young
equally
Joe
insulting.
Klecko. He looked like Joe Klecko.
That's not a compliment.
Rookie season.
Not a compliment.
Hey, come on.
So then you're on a computer Googling to prove that Sal's son looks like Clint Howard, who now is just cast as like the oddball because he's so strange looking.
He turned into a monster, and I don't. It's not that he's unattractive. He's literally become a monster. But I would love. And I don't know if if anyone's if you're betting men or not, but answer me this: like from cute to monster, Clint Howard. Because yes, when Clint Howard was in the series Gentle Ben with Dennis Weaver, and he was a little toe-headed 3-year-old.
Don't forget, you're outdating like 90% of the people listening right now.
Well, Google it. He was a cute little blonde-haired kid.
So you're saying the cuter the kid, the more of a chance you turn into a
No,
monster?
I'm saying when I told Cousin Sal that his son Archie looked like a young Clint Howard, if you look at Clint Howard circa Gentle Ben, you'll see a very attractive young blonde all-American boy.
But the insinuation is that he is then going to turn into an old Clint
That
Howard.
I cannot control.
All right, so
that has something to do with Gene. The second one is Johnny Whitaker. He used to do those Disney movies, and he was also in Family Affair. He went from the cutest red-haired, bushy-haired kid when he was like 7 years old to, again, became a monster.
Well, then you worked with Bonaducci.
The Dooch man,
Who was a monster.
Yeah, he was.
Then the other one was when we were at a birthday party and you told a mother that her little baby looked like Patton Oswalt.
One of the greatest comedians of our generation.
Well, I don't think...
Not known for his looks. Patton landed on his feet. Well, he did. The kid did look like Patton Oswalt.
That's not the point.
Well, who am I to judge? You know, and I point things out. I don't judge.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You don't have a self-editing button. That's one of the reasons podcasts are good for you.
Yeah,
because
but maybe
the FCC is not worrying about what you're saying.
I find that if you're secure, we should have no problems. But if
that's a great point.
You know what I mean? If you feel good about yourself and you're secure about yourself, your sexuality, your sense of humor, or your kid looking like Patton Oswalt, then we'll have no quarrel.
My son looks like the kid from The Shining.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And I saw a picture of the kid growing up, and I was really worried he was going to be Clint Howard and just look. But he looked all right. I mean, he's definitely short.
You got to give him that bowl haircut.
He kind of has it.
Yeah.
What I was going to do is give him the bowl haircut, give him a big wheel, and then hire two English twins covered in blood.
Where is that kid? And how come he hasn't done a porn movie? Isn't that just what you do when you run out of cash?
I thought maybe The Shining was so scarring emotionally that I think if you're in that movie, you just have to become strange, right?
Yeah.
Also, like how many child actors actually make it? What's the percentage? 2 out of 100? Like it's like Ron Howard and 3 other people. Patrick Harris, Ron Howard.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. And the reason it doesn't happen very often is you essentially get hired based on what color your hair is, how much you weigh, and if you have the right look. So everyone who was in the cast of the Brady Bunch wants to know why they're not working right now. Well, the reality is they would have never worked.
Yep.
They just went on an audition in 1972, literally fit probably an outfit, looked about right, could hit their mark, and they did what several 100 million other kids could do around the world. They just happened to be at the right place at the right time. With that
said, I still defend Bobby and think he was a real talent that was underutilized.
Bobby
had some legitimate
comedic chops.
He really did. He had moments that you thought, wow, they could spin him off right now.
Yeah, nice.
Oliver brought him down.
Yeah, the neighbor Oliver.
You know, I was watching, my wife loves this show, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
I do too.
Oh, you like the Beverly Hills one?
I do the same thing with every single one of those Real Housewives shows where my wife says on a Sunday morning, hey, I'm going to watch some Real Housewives or whatever. Yeah. And I go, well, you enjoy wasting your life away. I'll be in the garage with the real thinkers doing the work that men do. And then at a certain point, I walk by the TV and I'm like, Kim's kind of a bitch. And then next thing you know, I sit on the edge of the bed, but I don't fully commit.
Yeah, totally commit.
And I watch for a while, and I shrug, and I go, oh, come on. And then at a certain point, I'm like, listen, I would have pulled her extensions out, too. She had it coming. You don't walk at me that way. And next thing you know, I'm under the comforter, and I've 3 pillows propping me up, and you can see the clock spinning around, and they rope you in.
Yeah.
And you're like, you don't treat your own family that way.
Yeah.
And then there's the ones
You've been a bitch to her your whole life.
Yeah. And there's the ones where the husbands get all snarky on them, and then there's Kelsey Grammer's crazy wife.
It's a great one. I was answering emails. I always have the answering emails. My wife will be like, I want to watch this. All right, well, I'll answer some emails because I'm always going through reader emails or whatever. And this Beverly Hills one, all of a sudden they're playing the Halloween music, and I'm not really paying attention. I'm like, because that's my top 3 favorite movies ever.
Sure.
And it was the little girl and then the grown up, and I was like, so I wasn't really concentrating putting 2 together, and did not realize it was the little girl from Halloween. She's on the show. She's one of the Housewives.
Yeah.
So I made a rewind, and I'm watching. I'm like, this is little Lindsay?
Yeah.
This was her destiny? She escaped Michael Myers, and this is where she landed on Bravo?
And speaking of escaping, the escape from Witch Mountain or whatever.
That one, too.
Is it Kim? Damn, I can't think of her last name. She was in a bunch of those things too.
I like it. Well, did you see the beginning? She was talking about her niece is Paris Hilton,
right? And
she was like, I was just as big of a deal back in my day. Or it's like I was alive in your day. I don't remember you being. I don't remember the anything like the porn tape.
No,
propelling you to
would have been
international
nice.
Celebrity.
Would have been
creepy.
Nice. Yeah, well now, but yeah. But
it would have been called Witch Mounted.
Yeah. The idea that they remade that with The Rock. And by the way, between that and Land of the Lost, are there 2 programs that needed remaking less than the 2 worst things from our childhood?
I'm glad you brought this up because this reminded me of, and not that I don't want to go back to the Real Housewives, but
sure.
I've noticed this is a recurring theme with people who are doing really well in Hollywood, and they always have to make a movie like Land of the Lost or some kids movie, or like, what was Adam Sandler's one, the 13 Nights of...
Yeah, you mean like the animated one?
Yeah, or Eddie Murphy just basically did it for 10 years. But they always kind of go off tracks, and you're always like, what are you doing? Like, are you selling out? And what it really comes down to is they're just trying to impress their kids.
Yeah.
It'd be like if somebody offered you a lot of money and you could make some weird movie that you knew Sonny and Natalia would watch and be like, oh, my God, Dad's in that movie. Yeah, you're in on that. That's a great way to win your kids over, and I think that's what happens to these people.
They do that, and also they weed all the no and maybe guys out of their posse, so it just becomes a yes men, and so they sit around and they're like, hey, I got an idea for a movie called Benchwarmers. And everyone goes, awesome idea, boss.
Yeah.
And instead of, hey, that sounds pretty lame.
That's what happened to Sandler with Grown Ups.
Yeah.
So we'll have and these guys will be in a basketball team. They'll come back 20 years later, and we'll get David Spade. We'll all get to hang out and film the movie. Well, what's the plot? Well, the plot doesn't matter.
We'll figure it out as we go. Yeah,
it'll be good.
Put a fat guy in a rope swing. It'll fall off into a lake. It's going to be awesome.
It'll be what Farley would have done if he was here. We'll get Kevin James instead. All right.
Yeah.
I saw that movie on an airplane, and it made me so angry that
Grown Ups.
I tried to walk out on the airplane.
Really? Try to pull the hatch?
Yeah, try to pull the hatch.
Listen, if you ever get angry about grown-ups, I would suggest you cleanse your palate with a little Mr. Deeds or perhaps some Deuce Bigelow Part 2, European Gigolo.
Yeah.
Again, if you ever feel like you're upset about...
Schneider, I think, is a great example of somebody who really, really, really blew out the over-under and went way over.
Well,
the over for his NFL season was like 4 wins, and he somehow went 8-8.
I had a funny little experience, which is, and I'm sure you experienced this when you wrote a book as well.
Nice segue back to the book.
Thank you. Well,
in 50 years we'll all be chicks by Adam Carolla comes out Tuesday.
This will not be a bumpy slide in. This will be a very smooth feathering into this topic, which is. You don't realize, you're writing a book and you just start talking.
Yep.
And you just start kind of talking smack. And you realize, Rob Schneider and I would call us friendly, and he's a weird guy because he's really friendly, but he's really arrogant sometimes, and sometimes he has a lot of attitude, and other times he's just really sort of hippie and cool and whatever. Yeah. But at some point when I'm writing, and I haven't had Rob Schneider on my radio show. He's never done the podcast. He's never done anything. But there's an entertainment chapter that's in there. And
about your experiences with celebs and stuff?
It's got some of that. It's got some of the movies and people that are just like overrated, and some of the stuff we don't need to see, and some of the music we don't need to listen to, and all that stuff's in there.
Did you do the thing about songs that shouldn't be played anymore?
Never need to hear again. Yes, I have that. I even took a shot at Huey Lewis. So
oh no,
Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh! Keep talking. I'm going to look and find this.
Jimmy Kimmel, beware. Yeah, there's.
Well, he's pushed Huey about.
There's a
10 years further.
There's a That's Entertainment chapter with a question mark by. It's got some songs. It's got some movies. It's got that kind of stuff in it. But I said so. Now the backstory is I've not spoken to Rob Schneider in 5 years. He's not done my podcast ever. He's not been on my radio show in 5 years. I've had zero contact with Rob Schneider, right?
Right.
So I then write in the book, I'm writing about Tyler Perry, and there's a couple things. First off, I wrote this 6 months ago. I saw that like Medea's family wedding thing.
Oh, do you want me to just? I have the page.
Yeah, you have the Rob Schneider one.
It says, "I don't blame Tyler Perry. It's not his fault. He's a horrible writer. It's not that hard to write horribly. It's Oprah's fault for making a star of a guy who's built an empire around a gun-toting 250-pound grandmother." Blah blah blah. Oh, here he goes. Rob Schneider. It's not like I sit around and say to my white friends.
Well, wait, you got to lead into it though with that.
Dear black community, you don't have to support this guy's subpar products just because he's the same color as you. It's not like I sit around and say to my white friends, Rob Schneider's got a new piece of crap coming out this weekend. Let's head to the multiplex. By golly, he's white, and we need to support our own.
Right. And I've not heard from Rob Schneider in 5 years. Well, the book comes out on Tuesday.
Right.
And, of course, Mike August, our booker, mentioned he just gets a call from Rob out of the blue. Rob wants to do the podcast next week. So I don't know if he's going to read the Rob Schneider piece of crap du jour at the warehouse. The other thing,
you don't think he's sitting around like convincing himself that he's done Oscar caliber work? I mean, I feel like some of these celebrities can reach a point where they're just trying to last as long as they can, and they're thinking to themselves, at some point they're going to be on to me. I got to keep this going. I can get 2 more years out of this.
I can tell you, you can find the Huey Lewis quote in there too that Kimmel's going to be pissed about.
Oh boy,
it's probably the same entertainment chapter. But I can tell you this, Bill Simmons. I have had semi-high level meetings with some of the folks over at like Happy Madison, Adam Sandler's place and all that kind of stuff. And you sit in a big office and a big building on the lot at Sony with a bunch of nice cars parked out there. And at some point, a guy with a very serious look on his face leans across the table and he says, "Listen, the magic of Paul Blart was that we developed the relationship between," and about 10 seconds later they'll go, "The reason Mall Cop was such an amazing success," and you just sort of sit there and you think to yourself, okay, we do understand that was a piece of S, right? Do we not? Like, you do want to stand up and go, I know you're using this as an example. I was having I'm just going to get myself into trouble all the way around here.
That's great.
I was laughing with Kevin Hansch, who does the show from time to time. And I said, it's like when we used to play basketball with Cousin Sal.
Oh.
Okay. Every once in a while.
No.
I got to.
Show me. No.
Every once in a while, Cousin Sal would throw a wild running hook shot. You've seen Cousin Sal's top of the key. He did it as a goof. Yeah. But he did look, no one's going to pretend like the guy should be starting forward on the Cavaliers. He's a short man. I'm not. No disrespect.
He's a great athlete, though.
He's a good athlete.
Basketball, he was carrying a little more weight.
No disrespect to Cousin Sal. But what I'm saying is once every couple weeks, Cousin Sal, when his team was down by 18 points, would throw a crazy no-look running across the key wild hook that would bank in.
Yeah.
Now, at that point, Cousin Sal wouldn't sit down and seriously try to explain to you how hoop was played. And that's what I wanted to yell at the Paul Blart guys. Like, okay, listen, you guys just hit a crazy running hook shot that happened to go in. Let's please not save the tutorial on fine filmmaking.
You know, though, and the other good part about those companies is that the guy becomes such a celebrity, you just try to start getting jobs for your friends.
Right.
Oh, yeah, he's my production company.
Oh, my God.
It reminds me of, like, let's say you were trying to build your podcast empire and you hired, like, Mike August to run it.
Sure. Wait a minute.
Damn it.
Yeah. Also, so I also had to have some choice words for Huey Lewis.
Oh, well, let's go over some of these songs that you need to never hear again.
Yeah.
Addicted to Love by Robert Palmer.
Never. I don't need to hear any Robert Palmer song ever again. I don't need a Bad Case of Loving You or Addicted to Love. I mean, those things were made tolerable because there was hot coke whores standing in the background playing a guitar. It wasn't the song.
Cocaine by Eric Clapton. I don't know. I still kind of enjoy it.
But you know what's weird, and it's in the book. Just a few years after they made, like Ed Sullivan was like saying to the Stones, you can't say let's spend the night together. Like change it to like let's spend some time together.
Yeah.
And the Beatles can't say knowing she would. You have to say Norwegian would. I don't know if you know that story. And like, hey, Jim Morrison, don't say girl, we couldn't get much higher. You don't say it. And then 3 years after that, there's just a 20-minute homage to Booger Sugar. That song was fine.
You also have I Shot the Sheriff, I Love Rock and Roll, Born in the USA, Abracadabra. Stuck with You. I'll keep this short and give Huey the benefit of the doubt. I'm sure he was extremely high when he wrote this blank nursery rhyme and never thought in his wildest dreams it would get picked up for airplane. This is how you know you're popular, when even your crappiest songs are getting a ton of airplay.
I think
that's a good point.
You do know you've arrived when you write a horrible song and it goes to number one, right?
Oh, this is interesting. Beautiful Girls.
Yeah.
American Woman, Man-Eater. I think I agree with all of those.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, great minds.
There's a couple Springsteens, actually, I'm fine with never hearing again.
Yeah, I got Born in the USA on there. Again,
You're Born in the USA, but there's a few more. Now, did you watch the...
don't need to hear Glory Days ever again.
Your wife, the biggest Springsteen fan ever.
Sure.
Who went to see him in a concert. Met him, and I heard that she was dolled up as much as you could ever be dolled up, to the point that Dixon was frightened.
She was presenting, what they call in the animal world, presenting. She was presenting herself to him. Me and her got into an argument about
the presentation.
No, I'd give her that. Look, if she'd let me have sex with John Hyatt, I'd let her have sex with Bruce Springsteen. But no, I was laughing about it because we went to one of we had to go to our kids' like Halloween pageant this morning where the kids get all dressed up, and like one of the dads had the. One of the 55-year-old dads had the big silver hoop earring and I was like, what kind of D-bag needs to wear this? And she started kind of defending him, and I was like, what do you mean? Come on, it's the wife. The wife should say to him, hey, man, you're 55 years old. Put on a cardigan sweater and take the damn hoop earring off, you pirate. What the hell? Who are you trying to kid? But then I realized the boss had an earring. And then we got in this argument. Like, she's like, well, he just has a stud. And I go, no, I've seen him wear the hoop. I've seen the boss wear the hoop before. And he's like, well, it works on him. And I said, bigger D-bag, Harrison Ford or the boss for their old man earring?
Yeah.
And she, of course, said Harrison Ford.
I'll tell you, the Springsteen fans have really rationalized a lot of stuff over these last, 15 years.
Yeah.
Like Patti Scialfa.
Yeah.
Getting, by around 2001, all of a sudden the boss thought it was a great idea to have her come in and actually sing some of the songs.
Yeah. Yeah, her and Linda McCartney, two of the greatest voices.
There's no difference in her and Linda McCartney. It's the same thing we made fun of Paul McCartney. It's like, hey, I want to see Jungle Land down. Here's my wife.
Right.
You know, it's like, no, we don't want to hear your wife. Your wife is your wife. Keep her over there.
Yeah. No one. It's the boss, not the boss's secretary.
The Secret Garden song, I think, was a really rough moment for a lot of Springsteen fans. Getting played as a feature part of that Jerry Maguire movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Glossed over.
Yeah. All the Grecian formula.
A lot of that.
Glossed over. And just the general, and I know everyone loves the boss, and they talk, you know. He
gets a permanent free pass from people, which I agree with. I give it to Larry Bird.
I know, but listen, first off, you ever hear the guy interviewed? There's a lot of hard-working folk out there that are on troubled times. A lot of good folk out of jobs right now, you know. This economy could be better. I'd like to see a lot of our troops come back. There's a lot of hard-working folks who really having some tough times right now. Okay, genius. It's a lot of hard work. And by the way, of course you're the most popular guy in the world when all you do is talk about hard-working folks going through a tough time. He's very smart
about that. That's what the documentary, that's what I was leading to when you saw the documentary.
Folks. Yeah.
So the documentary was great, and it caught him at a life when his career was taking off, but he didn't want to lose that attachment to the hard-working folks.
That hard-working
And all
folks.
the songs are about, like, my next song is a song called Factory.
Yeah. My daddy worked 26 hours manning the conveyor belt 8 days a week until the boss shut it down. And then the boss man put his cigar out on my daddy's tongue. And the tractor started rusting, so I met him at the edge of town. And it's like, I always say to my wife, she gets angry all the time. But, hey, I got a motorcycle and I hop on the back and here's a surprise. Stop the presses. Your daddy doesn't like me, but we're going to blow this one-horse town.
Yeah.
And we got two wheels heading toward freedom and we're going to meet out at the edge of the town. This is all I would call well-traveled topics when it comes to rock and roll.
Smartly chosen. This is a song about a lobster fisherman who lost his hand in an accident, but he kept going out there every day looking for that lobster. It's called Lobster.
This is a song about a factory that built factories that was closed down. So not only the factory's closing down, but the factory that builds the factories, they chained up the front fence, and now nobody could get in.
It's called Factory.
It's called Factory. Shutting down.
I love
2, 3, 4. Clarence, Big man, pull up the oxygen tank and help me out here. Clarence is on a Barca lounger out there sucking off oxygen.
Wheel him out. Wheel out the big man.
This next song is a song about the steel mill that built the factory that built the factories that's closing down. 5, 6, 7, 8.
I can't believe that he didn't have like a 2-disc album about Michigan and the car companies.
This song is about the mine that closed down that they got the ore from to make the steel to build the factory. 7, 8, 9, 10.
It's from my new album, Made in Japan. We're talking about one of my 5 favorite human beings of all time. So I just have to keep throwing
the Bruce?
Because I don't want to get hit by a lightning bolt. This is a guy who had a profound effect on my childhood.
Oh, I love the Bruce.
River. When they released the 4-disc concert album, he tells the story before the concert version of The River about he had a motorcycle accident and his dad
crashed out on the edge of town.
His dad wanted him to go to Vietnam. He didn't want to go. Got in the motorcycle accident.
What a hard-working man going to Vietnam.
Blah, blah, blah. And then ended up they didn't take him, and his dad was like, "What happened with the physical?" And I said, "They didn't take me." And my dad said, "That's good. And here's the river." And then he goes right into the harmonica of the river, and it's awesome. It's one of the great moments of all time.
My dad worked in a factory that made Vietnams. Worked in a Vietnam factory until they shut it down.
Well, you know what else is interesting? So he makes Tunnel of Love, which the Springsteen fans haven't really totally figured out what to do with because it's basically a love album.
Right.
And one of the funny things about Bruce was like from 72 to 85, love really wasn't in his song. It was like he even says this in the documentary. Like he didn't really know how to write about love. It like scared him. Like that one song he had. What was the song he gave?
They shut down the Love Factory.
Well, he gave that song to Patti Smith.
Oh, Because the Night? Or
he gave that song to Because the Night.
Lovers?
Yeah,
Right.
and he didn't know what to do with it, so he gave like a big chunk of it, and then she turned it into her song, which is funny because she's probably the ugliest female musician of all time.
Patti Smith?
Yeah. Is there anybody who's ever been uglier than her? If you're doing a fantasy draft of musicians I wouldn't want to have sex with after a 3-hour concert, she's number one.
Hold on a second. I don't want to be a one-upper.
Don't go with the Wilson sister.
No, because that's just fat. That's not ugly.
Right.
That's just fat.
After a 3-hour concert.
The chick who sung at 17.
Janice Ian.
Janice Ian.
But I mean, a different
Janice
hairdo.
Ian is uglier than Patti Smith is. Sorry.
Well, but anyway, he didn't know how to sing about
But
love.
anyway, how about an apology?
She, for 15 years, he didn't know how to do
My
love.
daddy worked at a factory that made Janice Ian. They closed it down because it was too ugly. A lot of good folk out of work.
That sounds like your Bill Simmons impersonation.
It does. Dear Diary. Go down, Brady.
So then he meets Julianne Phillips, and this leads to this album, Tone of Love, which is actually like kind of an amazing album because it's about the good part of the relationship, and as the songs go, it kind of mirrors him
I like
breaking up with
Brilliant
Julianne
Disguise.
Phillips.
Is
It's got
that on
great
there?
Two Faces, yeah. It's got really good ones, and the Springsteen fans don't know how to handle it because it was like Bruce wasn't supposed to love.
Yeah.
Bruce was supposed to love them, not a
you
woman.
don't. Right. And also, it's that kind of thing where you need that angry Mike Tyson. He's going to take the belt. The content, I got a bunch of Bengal tigers and a big house in Vegas, Mike Tyson, not as hungry. A content Bruce who's in love, never going to strike out. He's not going to lash out against the man when he's in love.
Good segue, because I was meaning to ask you this at some point in my life. I got this great mailbag question that I did not use for a mailbag 2 weeks ago that I wanted to, and it just almost felt like it was its own column. Somebody emailed me and asked, on the night Mike Tyson beat Michael Spinks, that night, Mike Tyson of that night, would he have beaten everybody ever in the history of any sort of physical activity?
Yeah. Yes. I mean,
that specific night.
Yeah. Well, it didn't, by the way, Spinks came in there with his, knee wrapped in an ace bandage and
Forget
all.
Spinks. I mean,
Spinks was
how
terrified,
locked in
but,
Spinks
was like, Stinks, pardon the pun. Spinks was like 33-0 or something.
Spinks was legit.
Point,
I just think he was terrified.
No, I said this when I interviewed Mike Tyson. I said, a lot of people, there's a couple Mike Tyson arguments. One is a lot of boxing historians will say he never really beat anyone that was that good.
Because it wasn't his fault. It was the era.
And also, when he fought Lennox Lewis, he lost. And when he fought Holyfield...
Post-jail, though, I mean...
I know. When he fought Holyfield, he lost, and that kind of thing. I say this simply about Mike Tyson, because it's hard to say, well, would this guy have beaten that guy with that guy? Here's my point. If you, as just an individual, had a choice between getting in the ring with Muhammad Ali in his prime, or Sonny Liston in his prime, or Rocky Marciano in his prime, or Tyson in his prime, or Joe Louis, or any of the other great Jack Johnson, any other great heavyweights of their time in their prime, and then you include Tyson on that Spinks night, I think Tyson would come in at the bottom of everyone's list, right?
The only one I would say is George Foreman the night in Jamaica when he absolutely eviscerated Joe Frazier.
Right, where literally lifting him off the ground.
Joe Frazier never got knocked down other than that.
No, I know.
He gets knocked down 8 times or something.
That's the thing that made the whole Ali Foreman thing insane. That Ali was having trouble with smoking Joe Frazier, and he just went and eviscerated Joe Frazier. That she did a math where it's like a common opponent. One guy was completely destroyed.
Yeah.
How would he? It's like if the Pats beat Minnesota by 45 points, and Minnesota beat you once, and then you beat them once by a field goal. Now you're going against the Pats. You just think, well, the Pats were going to destroy you, and somehow you're able to destroy the Pats. It's weird, but that is the beauty of sports.
Tyson, it's really a shame because on that specific night, I just think he was at the peak of his powers, and the way he moved and he rocked back and forth and went up and down. And
just the
combinations,
just the discipline, just a heavyweight with that kind of ferocity, fighting like a middleweight, and with just the discipline and the types of combinations and the the leverage he got on his punches, the insane leverage, not just a guy with big arms throwing punches from his shoulders, but lifting his hips. Yeah, I mean, when you saw Tyson, he did things that other heavyweights would never do. You would see Tyson crowd a guy, throw a huge right hook to the body, and then step back and throw a huge right uppercut with crazy leverage, and you never saw other guys do that.
The best uppercut. That was his best punch.
Short and like a pile driver.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know, have we ever had the conversation about what do you think the ideal height for a heavyweight boxer is?
No.
What do you think it is?
Well, you know, it happens in all sports where they go like, well, you know, Drew Brees is too short to play quarterback, and then he wins a Super Bowl, or you know, and then the list goes on and on. I mean, I as a guy who did a little boxing can tell you that getting in a ring, you know, I'm 6'2", and when I'd fought like light heavyweight, so it's like I'd be 6'2", 176, and I'd fight guys that were 5'8", 5'7", 5'9", who were like 176, and it hurt. Yeah. I mean, it's not like, oh, I'm 6'2", those guys are never going to touch me. Now, they step to you, they breathe, they get inside, and once they're inside, they have leverage.
Right.
So, you know, here's my thing with heavyweights. I would say either be that sort of jukebox, spark plug, you know, built like a fire hydrant, sort of Mike Tyson, that 5'11", Rocky Marciano sort of thing.
Tyson was like 5'10", though.
Or whatever. Yeah. Or go the Klitschko route. Just be freakishly gigantic and be so disciplined that no one could get inside your jab.
The answer is that the different heights can beat the different heights.
Yeah.
It's like the rock, paper, scissors thing again, because I think like you watch that Buster Douglas fight, which I watch every time it's on.
Sure.
It actually wasn't a fluke. Like Tyson, his skills had slipped. He didn't have a corner, all that stuff. But that whole fight, Douglas was hitting him with the right hand every time Tyson would come up from his lefty.
Right.
It was just boom every time. He had the jab. He could kind of keep him away. And then he'd come across with the right, and it was like, that's how you beat Mike Tyson.
Well,
he never really had to face anybody in his prime who was that specific body.
He also...
And then Holyfield did a similar thing to him.
I mean, What Douglas did is because his mom passed away and was somehow wildly motivated to train and felt like he didn't have anything to lose, Douglas went out there and just used skills, like doubled up on the jab and then followed with the cross, double jab, cross. And when you see the end of that fight where he's knocking him down, he's doubling and tripling up on the jab and then coming with the cross and then firing an uppercut after. So he fought Tyson not like he was fighting Tyson, but just like he was fighting any boxer.
But that's how I think Ali would have fought him. Like, you know, the hypothetical, what would happen with this guy and with this guy. Ali would have fought him exactly how Buster Douglas fought him. And
all the other guys fought him not to get killed.
Yeah.
And that's going to get you killed.
Right.
It's essentially, Mike Tyson in his prime was essentially a crazy terrorist with an explosive vest, and you were in the back of a van with him. You just waiting it out and hoping nothing bad would happen. It's just going to get the block destroyed. You got one shot. Try to dive on the guy and pull the wire out of his explosive vest. It's probably not going to work, but every other guy was like, I'm just going to hide over here by the spare tire.
Or they try to dance around in a circle.
It never worked. So he fought Tyson. Buster Douglas fought Tyson like a boxer approaches his craft. I'm going to box. And Holyfield fought Tyson the way you fight a bully, which is, you bullying me? I'm going to headbutt you and bully your back.
Yeah. He got in his head. And then Lennox Lewis was at that point in his career.
Got in his head.
Lennox Lewis at the point in Tyson's career was just too big for him. I do think that...
Can I say this about Tyson very quickly? I can't think of the guy's name, and somebody's going to have to...
It was in his first, 15 fights?
No. Oh. Somebody's going to have to... It wasn't like a Mitch Green thing, but somebody's going to have to Google this thing. When we were over at Kimmel, somewhere in season 1 or season 2, pretty early on, so this would have been 02, 03, Tyson sort of made a comeback. Yeah. And he fought a black guy who was a British fighter. It wasn't like Razor Ruddock.
Frank Bruno?
It wasn't Bruno. It was just another guy. And all of a sudden, for like the first 5 rounds, it looked like the Tyson of old. Like we're watching it up in the writer's room, and it was like probably like 03, and I don't remember the guy's name. It wasn't a big name, but it was like Tyson was making a comeback, and it was doubling up on his punches and getting the leverage under his uppercut. And it was like, hey, man, Tyson's motivated. He trained. He's back. And he fought the first like 4 or 5 rounds really well. He was beating the crap out of this guy, and then this guy knocked him out.
Right.
And that guy never got credit for doing a great job. And it was a motivated Tyson, and I don't know what happened to this guy. I think he was a British fighter. He was black, and that's all I can remember from like 03. I gotta look it up. But it was a really exciting later Mike Tyson fight that was not a joke.
Why? Klitschko. Who's
Sure.
the good Klitschko? Klitschko.
Well, there's Vladimir Klitschko.
One of them's a little better.
Yeah, and
Whoever the little better one was.
yeah,
I think
there's
that
Vitaly.
guy was semi-unbeatable.
Yeah, and
Because at some point, if you're going to just be like 6'6" and a half or whatever, what is he, 6'6" and a
they're
half?
both like 6'6", and one's like 6'6", and the other's 6'7",
If he
or
fights
something.
Tyson, the height difference is just too significant.
Yeah, and also those guys are European fighters. They keep their hands up. They don't get emotional. They don't get hit and go head hunting. And they basically just go, well, here's the bottom line.
They bang it out.
But they're guys. Here's what they are. They don't get caught up in the crowd. They don't care if their fights are boring. They don't care if people are booing by the 10th round.
They bang it out.
They're just, I'm a European guy. I have a doctorate in phys ed. I'm going to keep my hands high. I'm going to throw tons of jabs. I'm going to keep my space. It's not going to get emotional. I'm not going to get inside and try to trade with this guy and get caught with something. I'm going to fight a super boring fight that's going to keep me champion for a long time.
Well, that's our biggest failure since in the 8 years that I've known you. We never figured out a way to get the Klitschkos to fight each other.
That would be the greatest pay-per-view.
It should have been a woman. A woman should have come between them. In professional wrestling,
right,
it would have been a female manager that they both shared.
Oh.
And then one of them liked her, but then the other one did, and eventually they would have fought in a steel cage.
I was talking to someone about this the other day. That'd be the name of my next book. They never.
I was talking about this the other day.
Yeah, but seriously, imagine if the Klitschkos, just for some sort of charity or just some sort of thing. I mean,
like a Rocky Thunder Lips type thing.
Yeah, imagine this. No. Before that, imagine this pay-per-view. Because boxing is off. It's completely gone now. It's all UFC at this point. And unless we can get Pacquiao
it's
and
over.
What's his name together,
it's over. You'll have 2 boxers a decade that people care about.
It's over. So here's the deal: the 2 Klitschkos go on like the Tonight Show to just talk about some charity event they're doing, and Leno's in on it. And Leno says
this is the weakest part of the idea that Leno's in it.
I know. Well, all right. Let's have Kimmel. Let's make it on Kimmel. Let's put on Kimmel.
Thank you.
Put on Kimmel. Kimmel's in on it.
Yep.
And they go on and they're promoting a charity event. And at some point, Kimmel, who's in on it, says, I know you guys are brothers. You're both great champions and heavyweights, but you'd never get in the ring, would you? And Vladimir says to Vitaly in just sort of a kidding way, well, it's not because we don't fight, not because we're brothers, but because I'd kill him.
Yeah.
And then Vladimir says, Jimmy, obviously he's kidding. I would, kill him.
It goes a little back and forth.
So it's a little jabbing, and at some point Jimmy says, well, seriously, who? And they both, and it keeps escalating. At a certain point, they stand up and a piece of furniture.
I love the stand-up is always the best part of those.
They do a move kind of like when Jim Everett was on Rome.
Yep.
The table gets knocked over again. Kimmel's in on it.
Yeah.
Table, and he jumps between them, and Uncle Frank comes out there, whatever.
And then Cousin Sal gets impaled by a nail in the forehead.
I was there. Yeah, and they start yelling at each other, and he picks up a glass and tries to throw it at him.
It's a cameraman.
And it's a cameraman, and it's on.
Yeah.
It's on, and now it's just bad blood.
Yeah.
Now, meanwhile, they could go back to their Beverly Hills estate and go, listen, we're professionals. Well, a lot of jabbing, no sitting down on your punches. You know what I mean? We know how to get through 12 rounds without inflicting a bunch
Chuck
of damage.
It's like Chuck Norris making a movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, let's not kill each other. Let's plan it out here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're doing the circuit. They're on every show. this is a
They can't be in the same room at the same time. You have to wait. We have to get him out first.
The
before
mother
he
comes out and has to make a statement, and this, that, and the other. This is a pay-per-view that would transcend boxing. Every single person on the planet would watch it.
Well, it's like, they could name their price, too. It'd be like $300. Okay. Sure.
It'd be the biggest pay-per-view of all time if they just orchestrated it and just built up to it correctly. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's still time.
There's still time.
I mean, they're leaving $300 million on the table.
Easily.
One last thing on that. One of them's dating Hayden Panettiere. I nominate that the weirdest celebrity couple ever. She's 2 feet taller than her.
Yeah, I know.
It would be, as a sex tape, it would be almost like National Geographic. What's going on? Are those two human beings?
Vladimir would be like, stand on that phone book so I...
And there it is. We almost went a full hour. You're getting in trouble.
Be a man.
Do your movie preview, and then we got to go.
Oh, no.
Joe Mead's got to go. He's got to go home. He's got to make dinner.
I got way too much. We'll have to do it. We'll play Rich Man, Poor Man next time.
What are you talking? You got to do a movie. That's part of the rule.
I will. Here's what
you have to do a movie.
Here's what I will say. If you go to Funny or Die, you can see the action.
All the movie
Did you watch
pitches.
the cartoon?
Can't do a 2-minute movie?
I don't have anything loaded up. If you go to Funny or Die,
that's going to take more than 2 minutes.
This
Rich Man, Poor Man.
Well, Rich Man. Well, but I have to set that all up and everything.
Take 2 minutes.
All right, you ready?
Then we're out.
Okay. 3 things. A, my book, In 50 Years We'll All Be Chicks.
Yep.
B, go to Funny or Die, just type my name in, and you will see these movies
all the movie ones
that we always talk about on this podcast. You'll see it laid out.
I might even be on one of them, I think.
Please watch it. You will not be disappointed. And then thirdly, this is Rich Man, Poor Man. This is all the stuff that only rich people and poor people have in common. Middle class, don't share these two things.
This isn't a movie?
No. This is just the game as known as
we'll
Rich
save
Man,
this
Poor
for
Man.
next time.
Right,
I thought it was a movie.
All right, I'll just throw out one.
Yeah.
The outdoor shower.
We'll save that for the next time.
All right.
So we got to do some sort of quick movie here.
Well, let's see.
Can we do a concussion movie? Let's do what was that show with Drew Carey? Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
Concussion movie.
All right.
NFL concussions.
NFL concussions. Guys playing in the league for 13 years. And this could be one of those Harrison Ford things that
a regarding Henry type
regarding
thing?
Henry thing, where he starts losing his memory, doesn't know the name of his wife, all that kind of stuff. But his youngest daughter is a doctor at the Mayo Clinic, and has to come up. It's a little Yuli's oil mixed in with regarding Henry. Has to come up with a experimental stem cell.
Oh, it's
research.
like that Brendan Fraser movie.
Yeah,
Extraordinary Measures.
Yeah,
too.
Has to come up with and the pivotal scene is for his 65th birthday. They have a huge reunion of all the guys on his football team where they won the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 21, and he can't remember any of the guys' names and wants to know what they're doing in his house. That's a very sad thing. But through and as the stem cells are injected and as it starts to take, we start seeing glimpses of his greatness seen through the lens of his own eyes.
Like an NFL Films type.
Yeah, but almost a flashback in his own head, which was a blank slate, not being able. So we don't see film of his greatness. We see the glimpses through the mind of the once great athlete.
Call it Fourth and Long?
Fourth and Long.
Thank you. I have one for you.
You really moved the chains at Fourth and Long.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Remember when OJ did the sports memorabilia heist in Las Vegas?
Who's OJ?
OJ Simpson.
Yeah.
He stole his own.
Sure. Know it well.
He
went back into the room to bust the guys that were
The guy had stuff. He was stealing his own stuff.
Right.
That should have been a movie.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I still have never really got to the bottom of far be it for me to defend OJ.
Right.
But was that really his crap that those guys stole?
We have E60 and Real Sports, and nobody actually knows the details of the story. I just know that it would be a great movie, and I was thinking, the last part of Boogie Nights. When they're like, we got to go in, that guy's throwing the firecrackers, and they want to do the steal the cocaine.
Scene in a movie ever.
So that's basically the premise of the movie. They have to go steal this guy's stuff back, but he's like down on his luck athlete, like Jeff Bridges against all odds a little bit.
And the twist is we find out all his memorabilia was signed by Tommy Heinsohn. That's the twist. If he's still alive.
That's a good one. Do you ever watch Against All Odds, by the way?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a bad movie.
Not a terrible movie. Jeff Bridges actually looks like a real receiver. He's got the beard. He's like a possession receiver, like a little Wes Welkery.
Yeah, and filmed down here at and James Woods is a great Dicey Club
good owner. Car chase in it.
Yeah, good Porsche 911 against the Magnum Ferrari on Sunset going down a Dead Man's Curve there.
Well, speaking of 80s movies, let's do the St. Elmo's Fire thing quickly because we were talking about it on the phone. Do your thing about, I had the thing I was telling you about how I thought that movie would have to end after 40 minutes because Emilio Estevez would be thrown in jail for stalking.
Yeah. And what'd I say?
What did you say?
I had a couple thoughts.
Yeah.
One is Emilio Estevez is way too excited about taking a Polaroid with some chick some other guy was going to have sex with in a cabin in about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Driving his...
after he'd spent the weekend there, yeah.
Yeah, driving his Plymouth through a snowbank. That was number one. Number two, Demi Moore, not that hot.
Well, that's what we were talking about. That's what... She was a coke-whore, but she was heavy.
Yeah, heavy. She was
the first double-chinned coke-whore ever.
Yeah, which is it?
Yeah, I mean, gotta lose the 15 for that.
Or just do it. Just alter the script where she's drinking a quart of Hennessy every day.
Right. And eating chocolate. She's coke-whore, but also chocolate.
And the wildly offensive portrayal of the gay man who lived across the hall umbrella. Comes out. Hello. And by the way, just because I want you to sit. He's an interior decorator.
Yeah.
She knocks on his door just on a Tuesday afternoon, and he comes out with half a coconut and an umbrella hanging out. He's wearing like a pastel sweater. And by the way, the implication is anyone you want to throw my way to have sex with, go ahead, just bang on the door. I'll be drinking a smart cocktail.
Then the African American hooker who's somehow wise to everything.
Yeah.
That was a good character.
I miss the hooker.
The smart hooker.
Now the hookers are all just junkies. Back then they had wisdom.
Yep.
Sagely wisdom.
They could size up people in 2 seconds.
They were like old Indians. Yeah, they knew who they were dealing with back then. Yeah, you could either go to the mountain and talk to the old Indian, or hit the street and talk to the old hooker.
Who did you think the MVP was? I asked you this question.
Oh,
who was the MVP of St. Elmo's Fire?
I'd say the guy who played Mayor Winningham's dad. No, I don't. I don't know. I always just felt bad for the guy who played Howie. Her super pathetic.
Oh, yeah.
Like the fat, pathetic schlubby.
Yeah.
Boy, put these glasses on, gain 20 pounds.
That was another 80s thing where they'd have the great movie, but they had no idea how to end it.
Right.
So the ending for that movie was that Demi Moore tried to just kill herself by opening all the windows in her apartment.
Yeah.
We got to get her in. Then it leads to the McCarthy Nelson fight in the fire escape. I love her, man. They had that scene, but it wasn't really an ending. I don't know how that was an ending.
And also, just breaking through the doors, not really an ending. And then Rob's going to go get an acetylene cutting torch and cut that. But, Rob playing the air saxophone in the club
on so great.
New Year's or Halloween is the greatest air sax solo in any movie, bar none.
Now, why don't you think the movies of this last decade have the unintentional comedic value of the 80s? Just because we didn't know any better? Shouldn't we be trying to make movies that were unintentionally that funny? I guess they tried to do it with Snakes on a Plane, but it didn't work.
Well, I got 2 words for you if you believe that the genre of the or the era of the unintentionally funny movies are a bygone product of our past. 2 words. Well, maybe 2.5 words. Fast and Furious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about that on this
Well, I'm just saying, you don't think there's some funny movies, unintentionally funny movies still being made?
True. That's a good
They're
point.
out.
And I have semi-high hopes for this Denzel ripoff of Under Siege 2 /Speed.
Yeah.
On the train.
Runaway train.
Said, we got it. And the guy from Star Trek's in it. Denzel's smiling. Denzel's just he'll do movies where he's basically a parody of himself.
Yeah.
He's this big smile.
Also that part where they go, we got the Empire State Building traveling 80 miles an hour with no conductor, taking out everything in its path. Yeah. And you go, all right. I'll watch that.
Well then. By the way, when are we going to that? I mean, there's no way I'm not going to the Friday.
All right, well, hold off, and we're going.
All right. Well, next time you come, we got to come up with a more elaborate movie preview. But you can check those out.
Yeah,
Funny or Die.
Right.
Check out your book. Get it on Amazon. Go to AdamCarolla.com if you want to get it signed. Don't send them one of those signing plates because you'll get
those
them
are done. But if you send in the jacket, I'll sign it for you.
In 50 years, we'll all be chicks. Congratulations. I hope it does well.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
So I get to sign off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNRadio.com.
Peace out.
That concludes another episode of the BS Report, and we leave you with this final thought. Subway Restaurants is cheering on Jared. As if losing almost 250 pounds wasn't enough, Jared has run 552 miles training for the 2010 ING New York City Marathon. He fuels his training with the low-fat Subway Club. So now, to celebrate this landmark achievement, the Subway Club is the newest $5